look what we have in the lawn. We've been getting a lot of rain and came out in the yard to find good old-fashioned sinkhole. I just put the cones around it. Oh no, oh no. Put the cones around it so the lawnmower, the robot lawnmower doesn't fall in there. Let's put some light in there and see how deep it is. I'm not sure what keeps knocking my cones in there, but it isn't the lawnmower because I watch it. And the vision system picks up those cones and goes around. Must be some sort of animal. Anyway, there's no tracks around this, so what's causing this, I believe, is a sinkhole. When I cleared this lot for the house, it was basically all trees. So there was a lot of large stumps they had to remove during excavation, and they buried some of those in this area. So I believe that stump has rotted away now, and that root ball is so hard to pack dirt in tight when you come back over and fill over it, that creates a lot of air pocket or air space in there. That's rotted away, and now the ground is collapsed. We got to fill this thing up with some. I've got a bag of concrete left over from my fire pit project, so I thought this was a great thing to dump in there first. Wherever that water is flowing to, hopefully it'll create a bit of a dam and prevent more of the washout. It is interesting, there's a bit of a, if we go straight over this way, there's a spot that's very wet, which has not been there before. So I think all the rain that we've been going, it's getting down in there, and there's a big pocket of water in there now. So that's a pretty big flowage. There's plenty of water down there to cure this stuff, so hopefully this kind of works its way there and plugs that off a little bit. Now let's see what we've got going on in there. It's hard to see with all the dust. There is an exit in the bottom of there, which I got most of the concrete and mortar down in there. I think the next step, gonna get some dry sand and start filling it here, and hopefully it's dry enough where it flows down into that. I think there's a pretty good cavity. This whole area could collapse if that keeps getting bigger. So hopefully we can get some sand down there and shore up the ground here. All right, we're on sinkhole duty. I ended up getting a yard and a half of mason sand in the trailer here. It's only $15, much cheaper than getting bags of sand at a big box store. So hopefully this is gonna be too much. But the good thing is about getting the mason sand is it's a very uniform, fine grain of sand that's really good for top dressing your lawn and leveling. So in this area, there's a lot of lumps and bumps. So I can top dress and use a drag to smooth out the lawn in those areas too, and hopefully it'll flow well down into the sinkhole and all those nooks and crannies and stabilize everything. Immediate disaster averted. Took 8 buckets. It's still a little bit low, and there's a hollow spot coming up this way that's just being held together with turf. So I know I'm gonna continue to have some issues here. Just gonna have to keep sanding over the top as things collapse. Gonna have to fill in. It's been 10 years since these stumps were buried. So if you're building a house, I don't know, they didn't want to haul the stumps away, so I had them bury them here. I don't know what it would have been. Obviously, you don't want them near the house, undermine the foundation or anything like that. So this is as far away from the house as they could go. Maybe should have just piled them up and tried to burn them or something. Anyway, you can see another spot here that I filled in a while ago. Another one here that's settling. Nothing seems as squishy as this spot, so hopefully that won't happen again, but maybe it will. Used a little bit less than half of the trailer, so I've got the rest of this available for leveling the lawn. In one of my very early videos, I went over how to build this lawn leveler out of ankle steel. At that time, I had a lawn tractor to pull it around, but since I changed to robot mowers, I have to use human power, but really not a big deal. If you're doing the entire lawn, it would get a bit old, but just for these spots, not a big deal to drag it around by hand. The link to that video I'll put in the video description of this video, so you can go back and see how I welded that together. After I got all those sunken spots where the stumps are buried kind of taken care of, I came over to this spot. It's a lot bumpier than I'd like it to be. You know, everybody's lawn kind of gets that way over time. So I wanted to top dress with the sand. I just simply spread it out as best I could with the buckets. This is probably about the maximum amount of sand you'd want to have on there without and to prevent smothering of the grass. So I just used my drag to get as level as possible, fill in all those low spots, scrape off the high spots. You can see it can be done by hand. Be a little bit quicker if you had something to pull it. You could do a larger area, but what I've found, just take these small areas and then maybe one or two areas like this a year. I just try to level out and work my way around the yard. I get sick of it, and it's just too much of a pain to do the entire lawn at once. Once the leveling is done, I like to come back with a push broom. You can see working it around a little bit gets that sand to fall down to the roots of the grass and stand the grass back up. This is a lot of work if you're looking for a good way to get a backache. This will do it for you. But it is essential, and it really is a benefit to getting that grass back up and growing as quickly as possible and not smothering anything. All right, I'm all done, but I am beat. Maybe I'll do more next year. Here's a look at the final product along the house edge. been a little over a month since we fixed the sinkhole and I did some sand leveling. Let's take a look and see how things are doing. Here is the area of the sinkhole. Thankfully, things have stabilized. That sand went down there nicely. You can see we've got Kentucky bluegrass going into the sand. The sand makes that very easy. The rhizomes can travel through there nicely. You can see the robot mower digs it up a little bit, but not terrible. All right, let's go over to our sand leveling. We can see this slope is a little bit, you know, around the house, like everybody, it has settled. So I wanted to build this back up, and there was some rough areas. You can see most of the area, the grass has grown back and the sand has disappeared almost completely, except for the lowest of areas. And even within those, again, we've got the bluegrass creeping in there. And by next year, that will be completely filled in. Part of the problem here is this crabapple tree was shading and taking away nutrients from the grass directly below it. So I've trimmed that back a little bit, and this should grow in a little bit more. It's getting more sun now, and filling a little bit better. So it was low spots where the sand took over, but it was also some bare patches because of that tree, and I let the canopy get a little too much. But if we look in this area that gets more sun, we can see that all evidence of that sand is pretty much gone. I'm having the same problem with these rocket barberries. See, they're growing over the grass. I gotta trim these up, otherwise it's gonna die off. Underneath it, you can see little evidence of that. The grass is thinning out below these where they get shaded out. Especially this one on the corner, that's happening. But overall, quite happy. My entire lawn could use at least a ½ inch of sand and then leveling, but it's a lot of work. So I think I'm gonna handle it in little spots like this, like I had. A couple times a year, do an area, work my way around. So it's not such a massive project. Golf courses have top dressers. You feed this hopper in and they broadcast out the sand, which if I had something like that, it'd be much easier to do, but I cannot find one in my local area to rent. So, stuck with more of this manual process. You can see the grass is looking nice and green. We're first day in September. Nights have cooled down significantly. Our cool season grass, our Kentucky bluegrass, loves this. We've made it through the heat of summer. This September, October time frame is the best time for this grass. Cool nights, it loves it. So enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Adios.